Welcome to the finale of the Book of Boba Fett book club on Basic Binges. I am your host, Sabina Graves. I'm joined by a panel of some of our guests from the entire season. I'm so excited to have everybody here. We'll go around because, you know, Zoom intros are always weird. So we are going to start with whoever I see first on here, and that is Michael Lee. Say hello, everyone, to everyone, the people watching.
Hello, people of Tatooine. Yes, hi. I'm Michael Lee. I write for That's It LA, The Nerds of Color, and We Live Entertainment. And I will hand it off to, I guess, Whitney.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Whitney, and I'm a singer, artist, and theme culinarian.
Manalo from the Nerds of Color. I am a staff writer for them, and I'm looking forward to talking about this week's book of Boba Fett. Get down. Sorry. Now I'll kick it to Laura.
Yes. Thank you, Mike.
I like this method.
My name is Laura Sirikul. I'm a freelance writer and editor for the Nerds of Color. And I'm here for I'm here to to just chat about Star Wars and about that kind of stuff. Yes, get down.
Yes, we are all with our good friend Grogu. He is here with us, and yes, that is his job, to steal the entire show. That is definitely what probably happened here. Let's start it off at the start of the episode. You have Boba Fett basically planting his foot firmly and being like, we're keeping these drugs off these streets, when in terms to the spice running that's trying to happen on Tatooine, and kind of, deciding that it's basically time for war, and his attempt to kind of sidestep it diplomatically, which does not go as planned. How did you all react to sort of like how that was introduced, and like, did you think it was just like going to be really short-lived?
Okay, I'll start. I overall the whole spice trade thing. When Finnick was like, "Hey, that's our source of money," and like, it honestly made me think, like, how are they going to really make money for Tatooine? Like, if they don't, because he's supposed to be the crime lord, and yet he's like, no, I'm gonna play it straight, and I'm just, so basically he's not really a crime lord, he's like just the ruler of Tatooine. So it's, especially when the government has been toppled down. So I don't know, I just feel like, does he really deserve the title of Daimo, as a crime lord, or is he now establishing a new government for Tatooine? So because I always listen to Finnick Shan. She knows what she's talking about. So money wise, I mean, it makes sense, like, do the right thing, don't sell drugs are bad, but also, like, it's what funds the city, and I don't know how he's gonna rule if he doesn't, like, how is he gonna utilize it, like the town, because they all have to give him money and stuff. So I'm like, a pay tribute. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, I just feel like him going straight is just going to be a little bit weird.
He becomes a respect lord instead of a crime lord.
Yeah,
he polices the streets with respect. That's a technique. I don't know if I could jump off of that. I feel like he approaches this in a very naive way, which I think is kind of shocking, because he's been in the crime game his entire life. His dad was a bounty hunter. He's seen what bounty hunters do. He's seen crime. He's gone after targets, long history of that. So I'm not really sure, I didn't get the sense after all of these episodes, these hours of television, it didn't really convince me or I still couldn't really, end this series understanding how he changed exactly. I mean, like, none of it really tracks. And it's probably a product of the fact that, we didn't spend a whole lot of time with that development, to begin with. We spent a good amount of time on it, but then we just kind of cut and run and stopped really focusing on it. So the Respect Lord going around, it makes no sense to me, honestly, at the beginning of this. I don't know what everyone else thinks. I don't know.
Michael
Michael?
Lee.
Well, I respect what Robert Rodriguez and Jon Favreau were trying to do. They don't want to keep things the same because otherwise it would just be stale. You would see the same, bounty hunter sort of action sort of thing. And
Like
as
those
Mike was saying,
tropes.
as Mike was saying, we get to see that kind of evolution of of Boba Fett in the first 2 episodes, from my opinion, at least the first 2 episodes, when he was learning from the desert. The name escapes me right now.
Tusken
I'm so
Raiders.
sorry.
Tusken
The Tusken
Raiders.
Raiders. Yeah, the Tusken Raiders. And he was learning their ways. He was learning about their culture, and that was a nice moment and a nice change of pace for the character who's, like Mike said, was practically lived his life as an assassin and as a bounty hunter. So, but that all kind of changed in a weird way that really doesn't follow through. It just kind of stops from there, and it goes towards a more action-packed Mandalorian direction, and that was kind of weird for me. But overall, it was a nice, for me at least, a nice way to see such an iconic character in a new way. But I really hope he understands what he's getting himself into by changing the whole dynamic of the city, as Laura was saying, in such a drastic way.
Whitney.
Yeah, I mean, definitely my sentiments are very much in line with everyone here. It was really great to finally get a backstory on Boba and how he survived and how he went about things. I definitely wanted to see him, being more badass, kind of like towards this last episode. It was so fun seeing him use his jetpack, riding the Rancor and just kind of owning that. That was so
Yes.
fun, And I did like there being a backstory with the Tusken Raiders and him learning their ways and sort of adapting that culture, and that helped him along the way. I just kind of wished there was more, like I said, more of him being a bounty hunter or something, like what we're accustomed to seeing, but with a brand new twist as well. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Totally.
Yeah, it felt too sudden, right? Like
Yeah.
I feel like like he lives his life with the Tusken Raiders, and he's like, I want to be good. Like at first I was like, the tribe thing makes sense, like you want to be with the tribe, but then he's like, I want to be good, and it's like that came out of nowhere. Like he had a near-death experience and stuff, and he's reborn, but it's also I understand like you want to change your stripes, but it's also like you understand how the world works, and it's hard to go straight, especially and then it kind of goes backwards when he kills, like this is spoilers, tons of spoilers, when he kills that person in the end, or I don't know if that person's dead, but still like it just felt like you can't change, and then he kills the guy. He goes, yes I can, then he kills the guy, and then it kind of destroys everything that he was in the beginning, that I've changed, I want to be a good person. It's like, I'm gonna kill you, and so it's like it doesn't.
Which, by the way, pissed me off. I know that we're probably going to get to it.
That's another thing we're going to talk
but
about.
It's such a waste. That's a waste.
That's another thing. That's another thing.
Oh,
We're going to focus on this now. But right now, I have a lot to complain about for that.
Yeah.
So much.
I definitely think it felt very unbalanced. I think we were introduced to so much in such a short amount of time, that kind of like, I get that they were trying to speak to like, you can only survive with the tribe and not alone. And we spent so much time with Boba and the Tusken Raiders that we didn't get enough of him with Chrysanthemum, Drash and the boys, and Fennec. We didn't get enough of him with his new tribe to really feel like it was a more solid through line, I would say. And that kind of is what made it feel like unbalanced, because we know we also had to bring in Mando and Grogu. And like, while I had fun with the Fast and Furious family-ness of it all, because like legitimately Boba Fett is space Dominic Toretto, and he makes everyone family, which I love. But there's a lot just crammed in this season with like trying to introduce audiences to a new take on an iconic character and yet still give them what they want, which is this child over here. to where it kind of maybe undercut some of the stuff they wanted to do, because the end seemed very messy. And not to jump too far ahead, but I agree with y'all with the sudden death at the end, where it was like, oh, this is a character I would have liked to have seen continue on as a threat, because they were scary. Like, that design is terrifying. But yeah, no, not to like jump too far ahead, we can like talk a little bit about, you know, just the assembling of the team and kind of how they were all also spread out as well. So that also kind of felt disjointed. Or would you all have preferred they stayed together during the fight, or, you know, like, how did you feel about them being like just spread out and then ultimately falling into all these different traps?
I feel like I didn't care about when they all separated and stuff, because I didn't care. Like, I know everyone loves the Mod Squad, but I feel like I didn't get to know them. And like, when they started dying off, I was like, oh well, you know. I was actually more upset that the Gamorreans were killed off.
Yeah, they did kill them because we know them.
I was like, pew pew, Mod Squad. I'm like, oh no. But the Gamorreans, I'm like, F you guys. Like, how dare you kill my Gamorreans? Because, you know, I feel like we got more character growth in the Gamorreans within that small time frame than we did with the Mod Squad, than we did with like the Free People. Like as much as I love the Freetown people. Like, you know, as much as like, you know, that's great and everything, but I just feel like there's no development. It seems like 2 episodes were spent on something else when it could have been focused on. Even though I love those 2 episodes as a Star Wars fan, 2 episodes could have been spent on character development, so we could actually care about the people being affected by this fight. And I just felt like it was disjointed. Yeah, it was like you said, disjointed, and it's choppy. It was extremely choppy. We get to one point to another point to another group, and I feel like it never got to a cohesive place where I was just like, oh no, I'm worried about these people, It was like, all right, these people thought, I'm like, the only ones I cared about are the ones that really got the development from a long time ago, like Mando and Grogu and stuff. But the others, like, I'm just like, you know, I'm like, oh, they die, like, and I just feel
if they die, they die.
If they die, they die. Like, I had no emotional ties to them. Even with the Freetown people, I was just like, there's no emotional ties. And so for me, I felt like it was like, even if it was put together, they all fought together and they died together kind of situation, which happens in the end and stuff, I just could not care less. Like, I'm just like, oh no, like, oh, pew pew. I'm like, oh, someone died. I'm like, handsome mod guy survived. Good for you, handsome guy. But like, but I didn't care enough to when they were fighting together, because I just felt like I didn't have enough anyway. So I didn't care about them. The Gamorreans, though, justice for them. I want justice for them.
Yeah, I felt myself getting a little more invested once Grogu popped up, because then I'm like, oh no, the stakes are high. I was like, no one touched the baby, no one killed the baby, you know.
Well, no one, they're never touching that. That baby's a moneymaker.
Yeah,
they're never gonna touch that baby.
They had an out for the baby, and now that out no longer exists just because the baby's a moneymaker. So they're never gonna get rid of that baby. I gotta be honest. I mean, like, I never cared about the Hot Topic Moped Squad. They were just lame characters. I didn't understand who any of them were. I didn't even know that they had names. You know, I think they maybe said Drash once or twice, but the rest of them, I'm like,
that's why it's Drash and the boys.
It's Drash and the boys. So boy number 1, boy number 2, who gives a crap about them? Here's the thing. I understand, and forgive me, I'm going to go all over the place, guys. So I beg your forgiveness. I understand from a narrative purpose why you'd split the gang up, and I'm okay with the narrative purpose, because for whatever reason, Boba's the only person in the world, audience included, that doesn't know that everyone's going to betray him. That's the first off, you know.
I mean, Fennec Shand was telling him. Yeah, she was like, don't be neutral.
I freaking threw my hands up in the air and was like, you didn't freaking see that coming? What the hell is wrong with you? You're the worst daimyo ever. Respect ruler, whatever your name is, respect lord. But more than that, you know, I mean, like, I understand that you need to reveal that everyone's going to betray him, because, you know, Boba doesn't understand that, even though everyone else knows. So splitting the Moped Squad and Chrysanthemum and Finnick up to reveal that, I guess, kind of makes sense narratively. That being said, to Laura's point, because I had no investment at all in the Moped Squad, I couldn't give a crap about who they were or how they were dying. In fact, I kind of encouraged it. I was like, please kill them. I don't care about Twirly Cyclops and his stupid twirl before he shoots something. It looked so stupid. No, I thought it looked so stupid.
I
It was
liked it. I was like, this is so,
It was
so cute.
It was such a Robert Rodriguez thing to do.
It is a Robert Rodriguez thing to do, but he does it so much more. He does it so much better in Desperado, and there's so much more style in something like that. It looked like he unnecessarily twirled. I feel like in Desperado, the El Mariachi twirls necessarily. He's like going backwards, and then he like shoots. The guy was already facing forwards. And then he takes the time to turn around and then face forward again.
It distracted the shooter. The shooter was like, "Oh, that's a really cool coat. That coat is dope."
The shooter's like, "Bro, that was a great."
I wish I had that coat.
Oh my god!
He's like, "Bro, that was a sweet move." He's like, "Respect. I don't even want to kill you anymore."
Spin 360. Now I get what he means by rule with respect, because I respect his moves. No, I mean like it's. I hated them from the get-go. But to also address another point that you brought up, Laura, the Gamarians, right? That's the Gamarians?
Gamarians?
Yeah.
Gamorians.
I'm sorry. So the Gamorreans, I actually cared way more about them because, and I hate to say this, even more so than Boba Fett, the character development for them was executed a lot clearer. You know, they're against him. He saves them, he doesn't kill them, and then they decide to be loyal to him. That makes sense. And in their loyalty, even fighting something as big, a creature as big as Black Chrysanthemum for him, you know, to protect him, that endears us to them in ways that we never gave a crap about with the Moped Squad. So getting to see, you know, seeing their deaths hit hard because I actually liked them and I actually cared and believed more about their character development than I even did with Boba Fett and his, you know, respect lord ways. And the Moped Squad had no characters whatsoever. So if they were going to die, if they were going to live, if they were going to get split up, if they were going to disappear, I couldn't give a crap about them. Just don't harm the Gamarians. Sorry guys, I suck.
Gamorreans, yeah.
One of the two.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Don't harm the pigs. Don't harm. I like Black Chrysanthemum just because he's a badass.
He's such a badass.
And despite lack of any screen time in this episode or the entire series, I do care about Finnick, but that's because Finnick's an established character. So yeah, I think that's where I stood with every character. So apologies for the rant, and I'm getting off my soapbox now and letting somebody else speak. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. If only they had 2 episodes to focus on Boba Fett's relationship with the others. If only,
yeah.
I feel like that would have been.
It's just like.
I feel like that would have been.
I mean, also, like it was very weird that for a show called The Book of Boba Fett, where Fennec Shand is billed as the co-lead of the show, she did not get her own episode, but Mando did get like 2 technically. So that was definitely disappointing, because I mean, like. She knew it was gonna go down.
Yeah. Like I feel like it was a waste of her. Like it was such a waste of her.
I mean, if I'm asking through a final episode in a series that didn't get her a lot, if I'm asking for most of that episode, where the hell is she? That's not a good sign. Sorry, Mike, I totally cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna jump off of that one because I feel like this is the most we got out of her. At least like speaking wise, because you know she was giving advice to Boba about, you know, this, they're gonna betray you sort of thing, and then she was also, we got to see that den mother side to her. It's like, you know, that's manners, like, hey, that's, you know, to the Hot Topic Moped gang. And so I like that. And then we got to see, mostly off screen though, that was disappointing, the assassination of each gang leader. So I also feel that she wasn't used to her full potential, even though, again, this is my opinion, this is the most we got out of her from all the episodes. And
it's so unfortunate. He didn't even listen to her, which is
I know.
He listened to the Moped gang instead of her, who's experienced assassin. I'm just like, okay, whatever. She's like, this is our people. This is our people. We need to stay at this place when, you know, you should go where it's safe. But okay, whatever. Don't listen to Fennec Chan, who is your second in command. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
You know, and he knows all this stuff. Yeah, so it was sad to see that she was just so underutilized. And about the Gamoran pigs, I just want to go back to Gamoran pigs. I mean, that was just I appreciated them more. They went back. Rodriguez and Favreau just humanized them again. They go about ways humanizing these smaller, like lesser known characters we don't even bother to think of, and we make an emotional connection to them. And as Mike was saying, you know, Boba saved them. I guess it's disappointing to see them exit when they, as Mike was saying, hitting the ground hard, I guess, because so much more time was devoted to building up the Hot Topic Moped gang. It's like, okay, that's nice, but seeing the Gamorreans again, it's like that was just so not more than a throwback, because it's just like, oh wow, they're actually building up these kind of characters we didn't bother to think of before. And I just sad to see that they were basically the low or the first characters to go basically on their list.
It's funny, like the things that we love tend to go away in Boba Fett. I'm just saying, like there's multiple things I could talk about later. Go on, Whitney.
Yes, I didn't want to bring up anything.
I don't want to take away from Whitney.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, basically everything everyone's saying is just. I just wish there would have been more focus on certain characters rather than others, more build up. I just was kind of anticipating something a little different. I mean, I loved it though. And, you know, in general, I love the show. I love Star Wars, you know. But yeah, I was just kind of hoping for a little more with certain characters.
Yeah, I think something like this could have worked as a crossover if the shows were happening like concurrently, you know, where like they could have been two separate shows building into the same sort of like showdown, you know, like that I think would have made more sense, because the Mandalorian centric episodes felt like the Mandalorian show, and were about his relationships to like Grogu. And you know, there are those threads of like Grogu's part of his tribe and they need to find a tribe, and you know, you have like those callbacks when Boba Fett, you know, tells Mando, why are you here? And Mando says, because it's my creed, like, you know, I'm gonna be here to support you till if we both die standing. It's what is it, that is the way. And then Boba's like, you know, basically tells him it's like BS, which is funny, but he's thankful that he is sticking to that creed, and kind of establishing like that they are going to be a part of the same tribe. But there's still so many things that were left hanging, because you have everything with the Darksaber, like it shows up for like a second and then it doesn't quite work, so he just puts it away. We had, you know, like there were a lot of just things that were just like left undealt with, you know. And were there any threads that y'all kind of were like, hey, what happened to this thing? I mean, like the Jawas, why didn't they show up?
Yeah, everything was underwhelming. Like honestly, like after the episode ended, I was just like, meh, it was fine. Like I didn't hate it, I didn't love it. Like I wasn't excited about it. It was extremely underwhelming of what I was hoping, because I feel like they tried to tie up all the loose ends, and that's why it felt choppy, because they're like, oh, we have to make sure we address this, and you know, like, oh, we have the Mandalorian season 3, so let's just add a little bit more fluff into this. And like I just felt like it was, even though it was a 50-minute episode, it felt rushed. Even though, and I feel like there was a lot of unnecessary things, like some of the fight scenes were unnecessary. And I know everyone's was excited about the Rancor, but I was underwhelmed, because the whole time I was like, oh, you know, like this fight, and then they were like, oh, Rancor, and I was just like, oh, Rancor, but I was like, it didn't give you that high anticipation level where I was just like, oh no, this is tense, like it's tense, and then Rancor, like I'm like, oh, I just felt like I wasn't excited about any of the stuff that happened, other than like the Grogu showing up, and that, but that's the only reason I was excited about Grogu is because I'm obsessed with Grogu, and then I think as a storyteller,
they use that to their advantage.
Yeah, but like the Grogu lover was like, oh my god, this is amazing, my baby, and the father-son moment. but the person who loves cohesive storytelling was just like, this is a waste of time. Like, it's unnecessary. Like, you could introduce this differently. I know you want him to be the Grogu to be the hero as well, but it just felt like there was a lot of unnecessary things. But I was like, but Grogu, like, you know, it was like a fighting, just like how I felt about Mandalorian, like
you
Star
like
Wars
Karen
fan.
Gold.
Yeah, well, Star Wars fan, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. But as a Boba Fett person, I was just like, this should not be in here. And so I was torn again, where I was just like, this is unnecessary storytelling, but Grogu. And I feel like the only reason I was excited about Grogu is because I love Grogu and the story between father and son. But overall, I was just kind of underwhelmed regarding the whole thing, because it was choppy. It just felt like they just wanted to add things. The Freetown people were super small. They're like, the Freetown people are here, and I'm just like, this is a small army against all the Pikes. But okay,
There's like 8 people. It
Let
felt
me
like 8
believe this.
people
I'll
when
just
they
believe
showed
this.
up.
But
There's so
I
much
just felt-
potential.
I don't know, yeah, but like you said, like it just felt choppy, and it felt like it just was trying to tie up loose ends and make it feel like it, like every at the end of every season of Mandalorian, it was a showdown that, you know, and people come and help, and that's the same trope that I feel like this one had. And so I was kind of like, I've seen it, and I'm not impressed. I know Mike has a lot to say.
I honestly feel no. I agree wholeheartedly with most of that. Here's the funny thing and the irony of it all. In this one episode, it encompasses. It is a microcosm for the entire series, if you think about it. Because the highs in this episode, there are a lot of high highs. If I were to tell you there are a lot of high highs, a lot of really great Star Wars moments. But I think it's a waste of Ming-Na Wen. And I think, there's a whole lot that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the Mando and Grogu stuff is great. You couldn't tell if I was talking about this one episode or the entire series, because it's applicable. That statement is applicable to both. And what they do right in this episode, because I did feel that there were a lot of high highs, watching Din and Boba fight back to back, side by side, flying in the air and shooting is awesome. It's such an icon. It's like you could freeze that frame and it would make for an iconic still in Star Wars history. Watching Boba on the back of a Rancor, I know that it was underwhelming, definitely for you, Laura. I still loved it because I love my kaiju movies, and getting to see a Rancor rip the living like hell out of one of those droids.
It was like a mech,
Godzilla.
Also, like the very
Yeah.
King Kong,
the King Kong,
reference of him
the King
climbing
Kong
up.
moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
like
For me, who loves kaiju movies, that's a high. You don't get to see a guy on the back of a Rancor very often in Star Wars, so that's huge. That's iconic. And I can't hate anything with Grogu and Mando, because even watching Grogu sleeping next to a Rancor is the cutest thing ever in the history of anything. So there's so many high highs, but unfortunately, it's just there's so many low lows too. There's an unbelievable amount of cheese in this one that I just hated. But it's a very, here's the thing. When Robert Rodriguez came along and said, hey, I'm going to do some Star Wars stuff, here's my episode of Mandalorian, I expected we were going back to El Mariachi Desperado Rodriguez, this hardened, hardcore, stylistic, version of Rodriguez. And instead what we got was Spy Kids Rodriguez. And in different moments of this episode, whether it's this series even, whether it's the multicolored bikes from the Moped Gang, or just, stupid cheesy moments, with that same group. I really take issue with them, guys. I'm sorry. I forgive me for hating them so much. But whether it's all of that, it ends up becoming Spy Kids Rodriguez. And I'm kind of like, this is not the Rodriguez that Star Wars needs. We loved your take on neo-Westerns like Desperado and El Mariachi, the Mexican standoffs that you had, all of this stuff. That's what we want to see in something like The Mandalorian. That's what we want to see in something like Boba Fett, and we didn't get that. But that being said, it's just all of the same strengths and all of the same weaknesses of this entire series are present in this one episode, all throughout this one episode. And it just boggles the mind, and I find it hilarious and ironic that it just summarizes this series in a nutshell. It's all over the place. It's very scattered, and it's also incredibly, as Laura put it, underwhelming. It's just an underwhelming series, and it didn't have to be, because those highs are so freaking amazing. I think everyone can agree that even though it's a detour from the story, I loved episode 5, I loved episode 6, and I have no regrets that I don't care if it distracted from the rest of the story, because quite frankly, it never got better than those moments, you know? And I'm never gonna look back at any of the other episodes outside of those 2 and think fondly or memorably about any of them. So for what it's worth, you know, I love the highs. I just could do without the rest. I couldn't care anymore.
I totally agree with Mike with the low lows. Sort of, you know, you kind of had. I know at some point we all kind of were hoping there was going to be like an actual big bad that would be terrifying that Cad Bane was working with, and that was puppeteering the alien peoples. That
Pikes.
kind of like the Pikes that looked from like the helmets on the spikes. Oh my gosh, like, oh, how scary, you know, but also that was so underwhelming because it kind of ultimately, you know, felt like we were wanting a different villain to kind of show up to kind of, you know, really challenge the characters. And it does encompass like the older movies because it kind of very much felt like prequel series with the bad guys in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Mike and I are arguing now, like we always do after we watch a movie. We're like
Wait, no, we're agreeing. What are you talking about?
Because you're like, Laura, but I'm like, yeah,
No.
okay. I love the Mandalorian episodes were the Mandalorian. They were not the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh,
No
this is
matter
what
what-
we're arguing about. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Like this, I was like, we're honestly like a married couple where we're like, oh my god, well, we fight like this all the time, but not fight, but we love each other. But like, yeah, the 2 episodes that you love, and I agree, they're great episodes. They're the Mandalorian episodes. They weren't the Book of Boba Fett episodes.
And that's fine with me because the Book of Boba Fett episodes were lame, man. I'm sorry.
But that's the thing. Like, I feel like we
I
just
really
didn't get
liked
enough
the
time.
episode where Boba Fett was really high off the like, space ayahuasca.
Oh, the lizard in my nose.
The
I thought
lizard
that
in
was
my
funny.
nose. I loved
Eating
that.
the lizard episode.
And I love the Tusken Raider moments where like the teaching him how to fight, and then he was teaching them how to drive, which, you know, like is what made us care about them and like feel that loss. But also I'm just like, why'd they wipe out all of the Tusken Raiders? I thought there was a moment where they were like, there's more of us than they think, right?
Yeah.
Am I like misremembering that? Am I confusing it with Dune?
Just remember, the things you love in this show die.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
I want it to be like Fast and Furious, and for the most part, I guess like the big name characters were saved. But yeah, there was so
Oh
much
no,
happening.
Jennifer Beals, like
Right?
Garza, you know, they fridged the woman, a black woman by the way, and like they fridged her, and then they got rid of the Gamorreans, and then they got rid of the Tusken Raiders, which represented indigenous people, and then they got rid of Cad Bane, who was a great character that could have been a big bad for the next season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh my god, I can't believe you brought this guy only to kill him. And then also like,
Which was
you know,
so
we-
lame. Because
Yeah.
like,
Stupidest
you
way
think
to
about-
die.
Yeah,
He's
the worst way
died-
to die.
like
Yeah.
I feel like that could have been, I guess it was symbolic that he had a weapon forged with his tribe be the weapon that takes him down instead of just like the Lone Ranger sort of weapon. Which
But
is,
he
like,
wasn't the one responsible for their deaths.
that is
The
also
Pikes
true.
were.
I know, I wanted
The
to see-
Pikes
yeah.
were.
And
And,
again,
like-
it kind of conflicted too, because it's like, you're a killer. It's like, no, I'm not, and I killed you.
I'm gonna roll with respect. Here comes respect.
Dude,
You know?
respect happens to be the name of my weapon.
I
I
wanted,
you with respect.
yeah.
This is respect.
This is respect.
Oh my gosh.
I
Yeah,
wanted to
I mean, like
see
with all the
more-
moments. Oh, go ahead, Whitney.
Oh, I wanted to see more Danny Trejo because I was like,
Yeah!
dude, I was
Oh
like,
my
there's
gosh.
a Mexican, you know, besides Diego Luna, obviously, but like in Star Wars, you know, yes, cool. And that was it. I was like, I wanted to see more of him with the Rancor. That just like,
Yeah.
even if it was like a cute,
I'm gonna-
funny, comical little bit, you know, I would have totally loved for it.
I'm gonna be honest. When you see the Rancor, you're like, oh man, there's a challenge. If you show Danny Trejo instead, I'd be like, no, you guys are fucked. Like, you guys, Machete is coming for you. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like, where'd he go? Where'd he go?
Where'd he
He's just
go?
Like, bye.
He's
I
just
trained
chilling in the
Rancor.
palace.
Yeah.
He's just like,
Like
eating
someone
the
had to
chicken
watch
leg.
the palace.
Yeah, exactly. Just chilling in the Rancor pit, you know?
I know, like, I
He's
trained him.
programming the chef droid to be a taquero and just like
Yes.
chop up meats for everyone when they
Yes,
get
and some donuts there.
back.
like that's the thing. Like it's a waste. Like we didn't see any development with the Rancor. We didn't see any development with anything. So I was kind of like, it was just I felt we didn't see any of that shit. So I'm like, oh sorry, we didn't see any of that stuff. So I'm kind of like, it was a waste. And I love these characters, but I just felt like so disappointed. That's all. Go on, Mike, Michael, Whitney. Sorry, I've been drinking.
No, you guys pretty much said what I was gonna say about the whole underwhelmingness of this finale.
Yeah, Fennec Shan should have been the one who killed or fought Cad Bane, and then and Boba Fett should have been the one that killed all the Pikes and the traitors in that room, because I just felt like Fennec Shan ended up doing the dirty work for him as usual, and it's even though it's to display her badassery, she's an assassin. It was like, hey, can you do this for me? Can you just kill them? They feel like it was wrong, but kill them.
I feel like it was so downplayed because, sure, I get the reasoning of like, oh, we'll have them put all their armies in one place attacking us to like allow her to slip in and murk them. But again, like she said to do this all along, and also we did not get like a lot of her story in this season, which is what we were all really hoping for. So for it to be like, oh, it's part of the plan that we want to have them like push all their guards toward one place so she can slip in and just kill them, but like it's never said. And also it just definitely like that felt so like sloppy.
Yeah, it felt like a finger to the Bad Batch too. I was like, oh.
It was. Yeah. I felt the same way. And to be honest, I love your idea, Laura. Just being able to see, if you got to see Fennec and Cad Bane do a rematch, because they did have that fight in the Bad Batch, that would have actually been pretty rewarding to the fans who've been following these characters. And then to have Boba, take out the Pikes and the rest of the Syndicate, that of course completes that narrative arc of revenge against the Tuskens. So it's a completely wasted opportunity. But I suppose to play devil's advocate, Fennec doesn't have a revenge stick, so she can't kill Cad Bane with respect.
You know what? You could kill the Pikes with respect.
Respect me. It's a mess. It's definitely a waste.
They didn't even acknowledge Cad Bane knowing Fennec, and that was the problem.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Why? Why even bring him? Honestly, I'm just so worried.
I will say I like that they acknowledge the history between Cad Bane and Boba. That is actually kind of nice.
But
I was wondering
at the same time, why didn't they show it in the flashbacks? Because if they had showed it in the flashbacks, it would have made that fight so much more like worth it, and like it would have had more impact, I think.
Yeah,
100%. Like a young Boba and Cad Bane and all the history, just like even just a flashback would have definitely heightened that. I would have loved to have seen that, like in with real actors, live action would have been dope.
I mean, I feel like because we all know the history and we watched all the animated, like most of us watch the animated, but there is a lot of people who don't watch animated and they just watch the live action, like so a few of my friends. So they aren't invested in Cad Bane. So it was a wasted opportunity to not showcase that history or even talk. They were like, we mentioned the history, but it's like they don't know. And if you were to kind of display that history, then people who aren't in like you, because you have people who don't watch all the extended universe stuff, but you have those people to actually care about this character and expect this character to be more too, like to care about this character versus like us, we were like, what a waste of this character. And then other people who haven't watched the other universe are like, oh well, this guy died. How is he important? Who cares? Like, and it's like, wow, you kind of just like not the people who don't watch the universe, but it's like a disrespect on the character.
I think the thing that makes it worse, honestly, is let's say I didn't have any history of Cad Bane, right? The way that, Filoni and Fabs and Filoni wrote and directed Cad Bane in the last episode, they alluded to him to being a major threat. So even if you didn't know him, he was terrifying. He looked terrifying. He spoke terrifying. He took out, Cobb, and he took out Deputy Meter Maid in like 3 shots, and that's it. So as soon as you see him here, he's, in the beginning when they're staring each other down, when they're I would anticipate that even if I didn't know the character, I'd be on the edge of my seat going like, oh man, this is gonna be good. And then later on, you're like, yeah, shut up. Oh, okay, I guess he's dead now. So there's that, you know. I mean, it's so disappointing. It's so, you know, and especially hurtful for the people that do love that character and have seen that character since the very beginning, since the Clone Wars, and know how potentially like amazing he would be as some sort of a huge big bad for any of the series. You know, it's a waste for them, but it's also a waste for the people that thought that he was going to be a major threat based off of the danger and the imposing tension that they had. He radiated from the last episode and the beginning of this episode. So it's just, oh, it really made me mad, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It really
that part made me really upset.
They had to just put everyone in the back to tank. Everybody goes.
I
Everyone
know, I
gets
was
like
expecting him
ships.
to be in the Bapta tank. I was hoping he would be in the Bapta tank. Because like I was just like, oh, you know, that way it shows that Boba Fett is not a killer. Like
Yeah.
he said he wasn't. He goes, that's not my life anymore. I killed you, and then like, oh, but he's not really dead. He's actually alive. And so it because it kind of backtracks like everything that this character has grown, like growth and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, I'm not that person anymore. And then he killed the person, and it's like, but are you? And then at the end of the episode, Boba Fett's like walking with Fennec, and it's like, I don't know if I could get used to this. And I'm like, what was the purpose of this whole season? What was the purpose?
He's like, JK, never mind.
We're gonna do some dark stuff next season, hopefully. Just play in that gray area of, you know, just we get a little crime as a treat.
Yeah, and Fennec was like, "What the f, man? We did all that. People died."
People died.
But at least Chrysanthemum got a mellow run, so
Yeah.
that's the reward. They did it all for
Yes.
the mellow run, you know. Sad, but true.
And Chrysanthemum had
don't know.
great moments too.
What's
though.
that? Sorry?
Chrysanthemum had such great moments too.
He did.
Yeah, and also those like freaking. I don't know if I'm having like flashbacks from playing like the Lego Star Wars games or just some of the Star Wars games, but those freaking force fields, I was just getting like flashbacks of like, oh, I hate how hard they are to penetrate. Like,
Yeah.
you know, trying to like,
Yes.
they were like throwing everything at them, and I'm like, come on, something has to work. I was disappointed the Darksaber didn't work. I was really shocked.
Yeah.
Don't you guys hate it when those are the last option when it should have been the first option? So you don't kill off the pikes, you just use the machines to kill all. I'm just as a person.
Yeah,
strategically-
they're the first line basically to go in.
Yeah.
And yeah. So.
Yeah, I was like, you could have just put the machines first. But okay, kill your people.
It's how you knew the Pikes weren't real threats. You know?
Yeah.
You're very expendable people.
I know.
It's poor strategy versus poor strategy, because Boba Fett's strategy wasn't very good either. You know, let's trust our enemies to, you know, to you know, honor the truce. Come
What
on,
would have happened if Grogu hadn't shown up?
Honestly,
they'd
yeah.
all be
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
It was cute little like force
if he
jumps.
took Yoda's lightsaber instead, basically.
Ah,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so much. I mean, at least we got to see Amy Sedaris, and I'm
Yeah.
happy.
Yes.
Hit on that.
Hey,
The
Hey.
best
She
was great.
lines.
she had a lot of
She
really
spits
good.
out a tooth, guys.
It's like, well, hello, Bright Eyes. I was like,
He
Oh,
was hitting
yeah.
on he was hitting on the Major Domo guy, so I'm like, oh, good for
oh.
you. I ship them.
Yeah, I ship them
They
too.
work together, even though he could be kind of annoying, you know, like he's a pretty annoying character, but still. I will
Phil?
say, oh, sorry, I will say I'm happy that Cobb is okay, you know, like
Oh,
that made me
yeah.
I
happy.
was like, my man is in that back to tank dreaming about mighty little ducklings, which we
You
will
know-
be seeing.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
wonder
right.
what kind of parts he's gonna get. He was shot in the shoulder,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So
What that arm do? What that arm gonna do?
What's the arm gonna do?
I'm ready. I want
All
to
that for
know.
an arm thing.
You don't waste Timothy Oliphant. I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
that man, and you don't shoot that beautiful face. So I'm glad that face is safe. To her.
Oh my gosh.
You know
Well,
what's
keep
gonna be
trying to
this?
get my husband to cosplay as Cobb. I'm like,
Oh my
baby,
God.
that'd be
Oh, he'd look
great.
Oh.
John would look really good. I think it'd be kind of funny if he wakes up and he's like, I need an arm that's gonna be faster than Cobb Vanth because I need a rematch. And somebody's like, yeah, about that. Cobb Vanth was killed and he died like a chump, so you're not gonna get that rematch ever. And he's like, damn it, you know, that would suck. But yeah.
The thing is like what the Freetown people thought he was dead, and then like you see him in the thing. I'm like, well, they were the first ones to take care of him. Why would they lie and say like they shot him in cold blood? I'm like, he's alive. You guys don't know? Like,
did they bring his body with them? Was the body just lying there for however many? There's questions here.
There's a lot of questions. Like,
also, how many Bacta tanks are there? Stuff that we shouldn't be suspending our disbelief for, I guess. But
apparently one, because apparently only one. They could only, even though he has the money in the world, he could only afford one.
You couldn't stick freaking Cad Bane in the same Bacta tank as Cobb Vanth and just have.
Oh my god!
Did you match?
Wake up to one another, like rematch.
Didn't you just shoot me?
No, like Cad Bane's like hi, Timothy Elf's like hi,
with the eyebrow movement, hi. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Cad Bane would be like hi, Timothy Elephant. Like.
You're bunking with the fastest gun in the West there,
Oh my gosh.
Hey, come on, I'd ship it. Cobb and Cad,
Well, I'm trying to think who I ship. Or if Kira ever shows up, I wouldn't mind shipping Cobb and Kira.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
But,
I definitely want to see some Crimson Dawn.
That
I mean,
should
the
have been
fights
like a
work for
major
them,
reveal, honestly.
Right? That's honestly what I thought. Like, it had to be, like, I was thinking that, like, Cad Bane was pretending, or like, just, not pretending, but, like, I guess,
a double cross.
Was going to double cross the Pikes, or was, like, actually just, like, misleading them into believing, but it's actually, like, the Hutts and, like, everyone else are still just trying to, like, have the little guys take each other out in their head to come back, right?
Yeah.
Which they should have maybe like had some sort of threat at the end. I don't know, y'all. There was so much happening. I was distracted by Grogu being adorable and doing his little strut. His little strut
when he like jumps up and he's like, it's so cute.
And knocking on the window thing, like go fast. I'm like, where's your seatbelt?
Do it again.
I know.
I was like, don't break the glass.
It's so cute.
That was just my thought.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's so cute.
I mean, like, and he put the Rancor to sleep, and they had nap time.
And he just goes up to him and like pets him. That was so cute.
Oh, that was adorable.
With him, so cute. I want to stuff. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Weren't you guys pissed off that the kids, the mod squad, and everyone was shooting at it? I'm like, that thing saved your life.
Yes.
Like, what are you doing? Why?
When Mando was like, "Stop! You're frightening him," and I was like, "Yes, y'all."
Do you know what's gonna happen when the boss finds out you shot his Rancor?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And not a single one of them spun when they did it. If they did, it would be so much better.
Back to the spinning.
Sorry. No. But yeah, I mean, like, they saw the Rancor helping them, so their response was to shoot it? Like, why? That makes no sense.
That's their excuse.
It was tearing up the whole town. But that just comes with the territory of
it was
scared.
Situation,
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And if Boba could rein it in, then why don't you just wait for Boba to rein it in instead of killing it?
Amando's attempt to rein it in was great.
You got it.
So sad.
Spoke too soon.
It's so funny.
For a moment, I was like, "Is the Rancor gonna like read the helmet as the same helmet as Boba Fett's, and maybe like
some Targaryen stuff up in here, dragons where you're a Mando."
I thought that might be. I mean, I don't know if like Rancors have the same sort of like vision as dogs, where you just see in black and white, so the helmet could have just looked the same.
Yeah.
But no, he tried to straight up eat him.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's based on scent.
The clink of the teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I feel like it's based on like, it's like your dog. Your dog knows who you are. Like no matter what, even if you have a sibling come in, like it's not you. Like, so I feel like the Rancor was imprinted, it imprinted on Boba Fett, so it knows like its own pet. And so I feel like even Mando was like, I'm gonna try to get this Rancor in. The Rancor is like, you're not my dad, and so it obviously it's gonna attack. And I feel like it was a waste of not having Boba Fett come and like and then discipline the people. Like, this is not an animal. This is like and the rights, like, and so I don't know. I just felt like there's so much so much fluff that wasn't necessary, and so much that wasn't available, that wasn't present, that could have been done.
Well, that was going back to what you were saying earlier, Laura, about us missing the episodes where we could have seen him train or make more of an imprint with the Rancor.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that, Mike?
Given us,
You hear that, Mike?
yeah, it would have been more of an understanding of what was going on, honestly,
Yeah.
with like, instead of just saying, hey, look, I just, I disciplined, I have him under my control, sort of thing. Like, how did that happen all of a sudden? You were saying you wanted to do it, and then we never got to see you do it, and all of a sudden it just happens. Like, we're supposed to accept that? That doesn't really track.
Yeah.
It also would have furthered his character's journey, like the whole respect angle
Mhm.
would have been a lot more palpable if we see him respecting this character, this
Yeah.
Rancor, this wild beast, and being able to tame it and being able to control it through that, I mean, like, that to me would have affected us in the jellies, if we saw him and the Rancor finally going at it, because it would have felt earned, instead of really just it felt like a throwaway moment where they were like, well, everyone's expecting him to ride the Rancor, so throw him in there on the Rancor and now everyone will like it. It's definitely, it's a really cool moment, but it means nothing if none of that is earned. No offense to Favreau, who I love and absolutely adore, but it could have been done better. Could have been handled much better.
Yeah, like I also feel like it was because everyone, I think they expected our love for Boba Fett over the years to be like, it's okay, you love Boba Fett, you love you love these characters, you love the actors, you love Ming-Na, like, you love all of them, and Tamura and everyone, but so I think that's what they expected, like they're gonna love it no matter what, even if we don't give them the growth, you're gonna love this character because you've grown up with this character, but at the same time it just makes it lacking, like it's just we lose that sense, I'll never hate on Star Wars because I feel like people like there's like those like the people who are like my fandom's over, like those people. I'm never gonna be like that because this is like their own creative thing. But I'm just disappointed as like someone who wanted more growth from this character.
I think that's where my flaw was because I went in never caring about Boba Fett. He's been around.
It's supposed to make you care about him. That's the problem.
But I mean, if the logic was I was supposed to go in with that knowledge and with that affection for Boba Fett because he was in the originals, it's a complete failure because he had nothing to do in the originals as well. He stood there for most of Empire, said 2 lines, and then he dies like a chump. Yeah, not nearly as bad as Cad Bane, but actually worse than Cad Bane in Return of the Jedi, and that's the extent of it. And I never read the books, and I never, it wasn't until later that I watched the Clone Wars and some of those episodes with him in it. But even with that, it was not nearly enough to ever have gotten me to endear myself to the character. So I already started this show not caring about Boba Fett, but I wanted to carry it on because I loved him in the Mando season 8 episode. Mando episode 8 of season 2, and I thought that would be the start of that redemption, the start of me actually starting to care about him. But no big loss that I don't.
I really hope that producers don't get the wrong idea about why this show is unbalanced. Because like I definitely think that. Like we all wanted to see Ming-Na and Tamura be given so much, that we have seen other, heroic characters in the universe be given, and for like a certain regimen of fans to be like, that's not my Boba Fett, like I don't care about him. The characters were like underwritten in many ways, and that's not the performer's fault. I think, I really loved what they did with what they had personally, and I hope that we get to see them more and still be as valued. I mean, like I was geeking the F out like seeing Mando and Boba Fett back to back because Boba Fett's my dad's favorite character, Mando's one of my favorite characters. You can get to see like these 2 brown men, even though they have helmets on, just like freaking just doing the Star Wars, and that was so cool. So it's really awesome, and I hope that, I think maybe the lesson they take is like we should have like concurrent shows at the same time that eventually cross over.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like thing is, even if they didn't have the Mando episode, you would have cheered him on anyway because you developed your love for him over the 2 seasons. And I feel like the 2 episodes, even though they're great, I love the episodes, I'm cheering them on, but I feel like it was a wasted opportunity to not make us fall in love with Boba Fett. And that way your dad could be like, oh, I love this character from my old school, but also you could love both Mando and Boba Fett because of his growth throughout the season. And I just feel like it was just lacking. And instead they made us love Mando even more. And I feel like that's great episodes, great Mando episodes, but it took away from Boba Fett. And it took away from your love for what could have been your love for Boba Fett, and it went to your love for Mando instead.
Do you feel like it kind of feels like they kept like the whole idea of the seat and the table thing, where it's like they had to like switch seats at many points, and it's like, no, they should both have seats at the table and their own shows and like their own little like universe of like awesome friends, instead of like this weird sort of like, because it did feel like, oh, we're gonna put in these like the moneymaker adorableness to keep people's attention.
That's very true. But I also counterpoint alternately. You could have also made us love Boba Fett in those first 4 episodes, because I think that those 4 episodes were unfortunately structured, and I think that this is kind of again, all the love to Jon Favreau, but I think this was a huge mistake to split those 4 episodes up into part flashback and part present story, because there's nothing for us to connect to if there's not a cohesive story within the episode itself or cohesive arc amongst those episodes. Alternately, you also could have extended the series by 2 episodes. What's the difference between 9 episodes and 7 episodes? If 2 of those episodes were going to be Mando episodes, then 7 and 8 could have been the build up to the war, and to get us to love Boba Fett. If we couldn't accomplish that in those 4 episodes, but you have to think about it. 4 hours of television, it's a lot of time. Which is why at that point I just kind of gave up on trying to love Boba Fett, which again I think speaks to the writing within those 4 episodes more so than the choice to deviate from the series and do the Mando episodes. And I honestly do think that there was room somewhere to do flashbacks, to do
those Cad Bane flashbacks would have just
the Rancor training and everything like that. There you could, if you utilize those 4 hours economically and properly with good and not like back and forth writing, scattered writing, then you could have made me love it in 4 episodes. We loved Mando in 4 episodes or less, in 3 episodes even.
I think and this is my last talk because I want everyone else to talk, and I think it's because I want to just interject with Mike. But I'm just gonna say this one thing, and I want Michael and Whitney to say their stuff. But I'm just gonna say this about this: is that yes, 4 hours is enough to develop and stuff. But again, we have a long history of what happened to Boba Fett, and and those episodes were only 38 to 40 something minutes. Also, it's introducing new characters like the Mod Squad, like the Rancor, and all that stuff to the storyline. So 4 hours, if you think about it, is not enough, because we love the Avengers because each of them got their own movie. So obviously I don't think 4 hours is enough to tell this rich history of 25, more than that, 30 years of Boba Fett, and what happened to him and his journey, and including the new people and adding how he interacted with Fennec Shan. So as much as I agree they should extend the episodes and add more episodes if they wanted to include Mandalorian story. But I also feel like if they're stuck with 8, then it was too wasted on Mandalorian. We would have cheered him on anyway, no matter what. It's not like it's something where it's oh, Mando didn't get enough storyline. He had 2 seasons that we fell in love with him. And so that's my thing. Okay, Mike and Whitney and Michael and Whitney, go ahead. Sorry, I have to. Mike and I are a married couple.
Yeah, she had to get the last word in. Go ahead, guys.
So this is going to be an amalgamation of what everyone is saying. I think, and this is just my thought, that the Mando episodes should have just been taken out and created as some sort of special on its own. I think that would have been a nice thing. Then those other 2 episodes that are not the Mando episodes in my world could have been used as a more Boba Fett centric thing. and then leading up to what you were saying, Sabina, about it, you know, culminating to that big event, that big finale, I think that would have worked better, because we've seen how specials like a Toy Story special or so, you know, it's its own thing, but it's still within that contained universe. So that could have, you could apply that to the same thing with Star Wars, Mando and Boba Fett, where those 2 Mando episodes could have been just, you know, strictly Mando thing, you know, and the rest would have been Boba Fett, because it's like Laura was saying, it just takes away from you're calling it the Book of Boba Fett, but you're recalling all our nostalgia and our love for Mando, and you're just like, oh, there was a show called Book of Boba Fett. I thought we were watching, and now we're all putting all our love and effort into, you know, watching, getting excited for Mando, and like forgetting that there was a show called Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, I mean, I basically agree with everything. I mean, the 2 Mando episodes with all of the other, you know, surprise cameos were 2 of my favorites. I mean, like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so those were the 2 episodes where I was like screaming and I was so excited. But right, like, I just feel like in the Book of Boba Fett itself, those are 2 episodes that could have gone towards him and his story and the other characters within that story.
Can I ask a hypothetical question? I think, you know, let's say they named it something else. Would we be as upset if it was named something completely different? Because at this point, I'd like to point out, is it more of a semantics thing, title of the episode and title of the series and everything, or is it a quality and a content thing? Because did you guys really love those first 4 episodes? I mean, like, that's my question. If you got more of that, would it have made things better? Because, again, to Laura's point, yes, you are trying to add characters like Chrysanthemum and the Moped Squad. Why do you need to? Why were they essential? By the end of the series, they certainly weren't essential. You know, and if you took them out and just focused on Boba Fett in those 4 episodes, I think we could have loved him. But I think the quality of those episodes was very lacking. So just because the show is called The Book of Boba Fett and Boba Fett is in those 4 episodes, it didn't make those 4 episodes any better, you know, those first 4. And that's honestly what my issue is with the show and with the argument about the title of the show. Yeah, it's called The Book of Boba Fett, but I do think that we're picking at semantics and we're not remembering that the quality of those 4 episodes really was lacking. If we called the show anything else, Star Wars Adventures, then we'd still be saying the same thing, right? That 5 and 6 were excellent, you know? But we wouldn't have taken as much issue with it because of the title. So that's the question. That's the hypothetical that I'm kind of positing here, you know?
I did enjoy the episodes because you got to see his growth with the Tusken Raiders, and it becomes this whole indigenous story that goes deep in the culture of Star Wars. And I really appreciated that, especially as as someone who loves learning more about the history that we didn't know before. And instead they went through a trope and everything of it, but we got to know Boba Fett's journey. And the thing is, we all agree on this. Like, Boba Fett did a 180 where we're like, how did this happen? Like, and it's because we saw the beginning of the journey. He's reborn and he's trying to rule with respect, but we didn't have enough of that journey of like development to where he is now. And I feel like, I know you love those episodes, Mike, and I love those episodes. Like, I love them so much, but I feel like we had more to develop the relationships.
Yeah.
I know you hated the Mod Squad and stuff.
They were terrible. They
represent the youths. They represent Gen Z, and
I feel like we didn't get enough of them, and that we didn't get enough of that relationship of how that trust was built. And and like the thing is, you're like, why do we need them? Because the whole theme is tribe, building a tribe, and if he needs to build that tribe, but he needs to develop. They need to develop that tribe. And like the fact that they didn't, and like again, I love those episodes in The Mandalorian, but I just felt like they were misplaced, or they call it the Mandalorian the Book of Mandalorian, or the Mandalorians, because that way we have different chapters of different Mandalorians. That makes sense. But we all had this concept that it's going to be Boba Fett's journey and his change. And the Mandalorian, yes, he's reflective of Boba Fett and everything, but it was just, we already love this character. We don't need more exposition on the Mandalorian in the Book of Boba Fett. Like, there's a reason why it is called the Book of Boba Fett. Yes, semantics, but it is called the Book of Boba Fett. And we all were like, we can't wait to get to know this journey. And yet you bring 2 episodes of the Mandalorian because that's what you're comfortable with, and that's the moneymaker. And I think it's great, but you could have added more episodes to tie that together, because 4 episodes, yes, like you're like, oh, you know, they could have made us fall in love with them. And you know what, parts of it did touch on culture, it did touch on his journey, but it didn't touch on the relationships he currently has. It touched on the history, but not the current. And I feel like that was a waste because we don't care about these characters when we could have cared about these characters.
Exactly. They could have taken what he learned from the Tusken Raiders and applied it to those 2 episodes with Chrysanthemum, with the Rancor and Danny Trejo and the kids, you know, like, and Fennec, you know, like, just that could have been what could have been fleshed out in those moments, because I wanted to
also have a relationship with Freetown. Like, he could have gone to Freetown instead of having Mando go because he has a relationship already. I just feel like if he wanted to be the daimyo and be the ruler of Tatooine, then he could have gone there and built that relationship, because now it just feels like, well, you know these people, Mando, so you go ahead, when it could have been an established relationship, like, I will protect you, you are my tribe. Instead, it becomes like Mando's job to do that. And it's it's like the messenger, like Fennec is the messenger, Mando's the messenger, like, and Boba Fett is not anything.
We will have to agree to disagree on this one.
Mike and I will probably be like chatting.
We are going to have to agree to disagree on this.
I know. I love you, Mike. You know
we will come back to it in the next season of whichever show we get. Which should be Mandalorian. You know,
I love those episodes. I did love those episodes.
Yes.
Do you agree on that?
I think the internet will agree with you on that as well, because I don't think the sentiment on the first 4 were very well received either. You know, so
I love you.
I will go around to Whitney and Michael Lee for their final thoughts to just wrap things up. We are going a little over time, but like, hey, it's Star Wars. I'm excited. We got another Star Wars during this time, so that makes me happy, and to geek out with you guys weekly about it has been such a joy. So that's my final words on that. But go ahead, Whitney and Mike.
Okay, so I'll go, I guess, first. I just, overall, I was just a little underwhelmed by all of this. It was just a total inconsistency, and I think they had the concept, they had the idea, and they just executed it poorly, or just didn't take it into account just how much people love this character, even though this character only had like 20 minutes maybe, or even less in the whole original trilogy. So they just I'm speaking about Robert Rodriguez and Jon Favreau, who are the main drivers of the series. They just underestimated the whole thing about how to put this thing together, basically. And then I wish that it didn't turn out this way. So yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, some episodes were clearly stronger than others, in my opinion. Overall, like I said, I love Star Wars, so I'm so happy to have Star Wars content. And even if there were a few episodes I didn't care for, there were ones that I absolutely freaking loved, and I, scream and I'm excited about all the time. And it gets me even more excited for, the next season of Mando and Obi-Wan coming soon. So,
Obi-Wan, yes.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how that ties into certain things that we have seen introduced in this, because I'm sure that there are people who are hopefully involved in what we've seen kind of transpire that it'll call back to,
Yeah.
So
I think we can all agree on this. Luke Skywalker is a horrible teacher. Like,
yes!
he let Grogu go into
Grogu made good choices, though. We have to say that. Grogu
He
made
did.
good choices.
You know what?
But that wasn't because of Luke. That was because of Mando.
Yeah,
This is what potentially saved him from Ben Solo's, attacks.
yeah.
Yeah. But then it's also like, Luke was like, "You go to Tatooine, even though it's my hometown. Oh well, whatever's going on there is going on there, even though I'm the strongest person in the universe." But I was just like, "You go ahead in this X-wing, and then we'll have
just like autopilot. Good luck.
Put in the coordinates right here, and then just go.
Yeah,
like R2, you're used to handling babies. R2, you can handle placing babies where they need to be. That's your side hustle throughout the years. You know,
R2 R2 sees R5 and is like, "This could have been you."
I mean, what kind of sour grapes crap is that though from Luke? Like the kid picks the chainmail, and Luke's like, "Yeah, I'm not even gonna escort you. Just get out of my sight." You're on your own.
I'm also like a Luke and Boba reunion, and being like, "Dude, you survived?" Or does he know?
Yeah.
Right.
That was a weird situation. I'm just like, when it was just like Grogu, and I was just like, so Luke Skywalker just put him in there and be like, "You don't want to be a Jedi? Bye, go away."
Get out of my guy.
I'm not gonna go to that planet ever again. And honestly, but Tatooine has clearly decided that it wants nothing to do with the Star Wars. It just is, that stuff that's happening outside of Tatooine. Like, we just want to be our own little planet tribe and do our thing, because later on in the other movies we don't really hear anything about it.
Yeah.
So
anyway, that was my take. That we all could agree on. Luke Skywalker is a horrible teacher.
Horrible teacher.
Yes.
Oh.
He's all, "You could be my first student." I guess not.
How many first students?
Well.
I know.
Has he had?
Grogu and Leia, and that's it. Because he couldn't train Grogu, he had to go get his sister and train her. So I don't know.
No, I'm like, "Hey,
please
you wanna
become
be
my
student?"
student.
No.
I need to go.
I'll give you a discount.
Fine.
Sibling discount.
Family discount.
Okay. Well, it's been a joy experiencing the show with every one of you. Thank you so much for joining me and talking all things Star Wars, talking about the food in Star Wars. We ran out of boba before
I know I drink it all.
doing this. But yeah, no, we'll go around and we'll do the tag thing again and tell everyone where they can find you. We'll start with Laura.
You can find me at Sirikul on Twitter. I'm always tweeting about where I'm writing for and all the Nerds of Color stuff. You can find me on the Nerds of Color as well, at the Nerds of Color. So you can find me and my work there.
Tag somebody in.
I'm gonna toss it to Mike because I love you.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm Mike Manalo. You can find me at TidyBullBoy182 on Twitter and Instagram. And of course, I'm always writing on the Nerds of Color. My personal blog has nothing interesting on it, so don't worry about following that. Nerds of Color.
You should toss baby your Grogu onto the screen and someone should catch
do it.
them.
Yes.
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah.
Whitney, you ready?
Yes.
Heads up.
All right. Whoa. Okay. All right.
That worked pretty well.
Why did we learn this just now?
You're Luke Skywalker. You're yeeting him out of existence.
I'm right. I'm like, oh.
Get out of my academy. Yeah.
So yeah, you can find me on social media under Whitney Allis, my musical Whitney on Instagram, and Alas It's Whitney on Twitter. And yeah, you'll see a lot of themed baking, themed goods, artsy, nerdy stuff. So yeah, give me a follow. And I'm going to pitch it over to Michael.
All right. So yeah, this is my only Baby Yoda thing I have right now. I'm in the process of
You
renovating
reunited
my
him
room.
with Mando.
Yes. So you can find me at I am Michael J. Lee on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And I always post about movies like Dog, and I write for the Nerds of Color, We Live Entertainment, and That's It LA.
Amazing. Thank you guys. And I'm Sabina. I've been your host. You can find me on the Nerds of Color here at Nom Talk, and many other places, and maybe only one coming soon that I can bring up. Excited to have enjoyed the show with you. Be sure to catch us with the next shows that we'll be doing, which we'll have some announcements for. Definitely Moon Knight, and all of y'all are welcome to rejoin us for that as well. So we will all be keeping in touch, and everyone, may the Force be with you, and maybe Grogu be with you.
Of course. May the Force be with you guys. Wait.
May the Force be-